Yeah, countdown hands.
Uh, hey, what's up, Dexter? How's it going?
Good, Bob. As usual, everyone kind of like we get silly when we see the countdown. We're like, "Hey, countdown hands!"
This is what happens when you don't have anything better to do on a weekend.
We've been
Oh,
recently.
weekend. It can happen any day of the week.
Unbelievable.
Oh
I,
my
yeah.
God.
The things, it's funny that the older I get, I find such pleasure and humor in almost everything these days.
Well, yeah, it's either that, it's either laugh at things or cry at things that are happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just kind of
and it's funny and
and
there's plenty around it for that to happen. So
yeah, no kidding. And we got a few of the subjects that we can touch on today. And, it is, to me, it's important that we keep a good sense of humor about it because, again, what's the alternative? Cry about it, but also being sensitive about it. If we can see the humor in whatever, a lion eating an idiot that jumped the freaking fence at the zoo, I'll laugh at that, you know?
well, good afternoon, everyone. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hi, everybody.
actually we're actually talking and it's afternoon. It's
God,
actually
we're so retarded.
what day is it? I don't even know what day is it.
This is Sunday, and I believe today should be, is it the 16th? Something like that? March? Well, I got one of these fancy calendars here. Yeah, the 6th.
And tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day, of which I've never been to the parade a couple of times, but I've never partaken in like the green beer bar crawl. So
Yeah.
it's not for me, but
Well,
yeah.
and on top of that, we're not very Irish.
No, we're not very Irish, so it's not something we celebrate. But
But
everyone's
I will
Irish.
celebrate with anybody. I don't
Everyone's
care.
Irish on
Happy
St.
Kwanzaa, sure. Pass something to eat. Whatever.
Kwanzaa, right? You know, it's but
Oh,
welcome
yeah.
everyone. Welcome. What
Yes.
episode are we on now? Right? Is this
Well,
15?
it's actually going to be 15 today. So
Wow.
we're moving right along.
Yeah, 15. Not bad. Not bad at
Yeah,
all.
thanks to everybody out there watching, tuning in, giving us some feedback. We appreciate
Yeah,
that.
giving us a reason to keep doing this because we know. Look, Ralph and I know that there's a gazillion people that you could be listening to, right? That you could be
Yeah.
watching. There's
Yep.
a gazillion people out there. We're doing it for fun at this point. We have a precise time. Well, not always. We always get together, but it gives us an opportunity to chat because life gets busy. And
Yeah.
I was just telling Ralph, everyone, that I'm going to get a chance to go away for 2 3 days just to disconnect from New York for a bit because I needed to, and looking forward to that. But no, we appreciate everyone tuning in because you have other choices, you have options. So thank you for keeping us going forward.
Yep. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And to that end, let's just go ahead and start with the questions and answers.
Yeah,
If it's all right. Because, and my notes are a little bit scattered today, so please bear with me. Okay, here we go. All right.
he used that same excuse in high school, people.
I know, right? I do that with my lady, and she's not buying it either. I don't. So the first question, actually, somebody actually sent a question to both of us, but I'll lay that on your lap over here because this is going to say a little bit about both of us, I guess. So the question is, what are your guilty pleasures? Now, careful.
I have my guilty pleasures. I mean, let's keep it clean. It's for now. It's a family program, but who knows where it'll go from here. But my guilty pleasures, I love chocolate. That's a guilty pleasure. I mean, it's not an unusual guilty pleasure, but I really like chocolate. I especially like Little Debbie's. They are so dangerous. I love those cakes in terms of my guilty pleasure for food. I have a sweet tooth. I really do. And I'm surprised that I'm not like, much bigger than I am because I do have a sweet tooth. And then my other guilty pleasure is I love watching not who done it, but how it really happened. Right? Like if you want to know how, I love those shows. Waco, what really happened at Waco, for those of you that know about that. Or what happened at, who was the son of Sam, right? Or who was, some other serial killer, right? So, and I don't limit myself to just serial killers. I like to watch all sorts of, because some people get a little crazy.
That's good.
They're all crazy. They start watching nothing but serial killer drama. And I'm like, whoa, let's pull that back a bit, man. And this, but I love doing that. Those are, and I love reading, not trash, but I love like TMZ stuff. I love trashy TV like that, you know?
All right. Well, good. Good. Now we know a little bit about you, Mr. Serial Killer. No, but you know what? That's no, you know what? That's I have to admit that that's actually one of my interests. Always has been. I've always been fascinated with the reading up and what makes these people snap like they do, and whether they're captured or not. And, and one of my favorite sort of like cult stories, if you want to call it that, is still Jack the Ripper. You know what I mean? Nobody really knows who this guy still is after I don't know how many decades
They
now.
never identified who he was. They
No, and
have
so
ideas, but they don't
yeah,
really know
but
who it was.
they haven't pinpointed who it is. So ever since I was a kid, things like that have always fascinated me. And the Guinness Book of World Record books, I don't know why, but I've always been interested in, these people that are, I don't know, the largest teeth or the longest hair or the thickest, whatever, you know
The
what I
tallest
mean?
woman, right?
Yeah, things like that. I've always
The
been interested in
hairiest
those kind of
child, right? Something like
I think I dated her once.
that. Maybe grade school.
And as far as me, guilty pleasures, burgers and pizza.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. You know,
I like now I myself make a pretty mean burger. So whenever I get you and your lady to come on over, you'll see what I mean. I've got a pretty good recipe going on. And now don't blame me. I'm warning you in advance. There's going to be plenty of burgers on the grill when you get here.
here's here's another guilty pleasure: thin crust pizza.
There you go.
It's so good. And then thin crust
Exactly.
with some oil. Oh,
Yeah. Me, I'm a plain pizza kind of a guy. Plain, cheese. It could be extra cheese, although there is room in my diet for the Sicilian,
this
which
is
is,
the
for those of you who don't know Sicilian, those are really thick pizzas. But I like the thin crusts. And there's one pizzeria in town called Santillo's, Santillo, Santillo's Pizza. About a year ago, it actually burned down, so it's being rebuilt right now. But it actually has one of the highest ratings for pizza in America,
really.
in Elizabeth, New Jersey. So I can't wait for them to start up again because apparently 235 pounds is not enough. I need to get some more on. So
Who burned them down? The number two pizza in America? Like, who?
get
Was
some
that like a
distance between
legit?
them.
Is that legitimate? Oh, or the
Gosh, I don't
third
know,
split?
but
Like, what was
I
that?
can't wait for them to come back. Santillo's Pizza.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. We kept that coming.
And that's actually the first question. Now, the second question, actually, it's not really a question as much as it was as a comment that I saw this morning from a follower of mine on Facebook. He wrote, and it's very nice of him, it's Fred Clark II. He wrote regarding episode 14 that I posted. He wrote that these podcasts, these shows are his Sunday treats, he says. And then right after that, he settles in the afternoon for afternoon jazz listening.
Oh,
And he
no
said, doesn't
kidding.
get any better. He said, doesn't get any better than this. Keep it up, guys.
Oh, that's
So,
nice.
yeah. So I texted him and I said, thank you very much for that. That makes it worthwhile. You know what I mean? As far as sharing it with people. So thanks, Fred. I appreciate that. And then there's another gentleman and another friend of mine. Actually, we have a follower all the way from Italy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Has a friend of mine also who I met a couple of years ago. His name is Leo, and he thinks it's a very good show. And he also shared. Right now, he lives in Florence. Apparently, they're having some floods. So hang in there, Leo. We're praying for you guys. But he seems to think that they're going to get through it all right. But so the point is, we've got followers all the way out to Italy, and that's
Wow.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Somebody else wrote, I wasn't going to bring it up, but we have a little bit of extra time than we normally do, so I'll bring up the question. Somebody wrote, "What are your favorite movies?" So go for it. Unless you're going to pass.
My favorite movie. Oh my gosh. You know what I saw the other day that it's hard for me to name my favorite movies because they change all the time, but I do have some stalwarts. Oh my gosh, what is the name of that movie? World War Z, right? With Brad
With
Pitt.
Brad Pitt,
With Brad
yes.
Pitt. I had not seen, I don't know if that's one of my, but it's becoming a favorite.
Hmm.
I actually just saw that the other day. And when I say the other day, it was like a few months ago. I had never seen it before.
Mm.
And I was able to catch it. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. And he's good in it, you know?
Yes,
And it's funny,
yes.
as he's gotten older, he's gotten better.
Oh,
As
yeah. Well, you couldn't get much worse when
It
you
didn't
first
get much
started.
worse. When he started, he was a little stilted, but I like where he is right now in terms of his skill set. My favorite movie, oh my God, Goodfellas, I would never not turn away. That thing could be on all day, every day. I still watch that. The Godfather, still watch that. The
There
second
you
one's
go.
still my favorite, even though the first
One or
one's
two.
really good. The second is my favorite.
Okay.
Crime dramas, ooh, what do I like in terms of crime drama? You know what I saw the other day, which is I can never get a bullet with Steve McQueen. For
Yeah.
those of you who have never seen a Steve
Yeah.
McQueen movie, Bullet is a old school soundtrack, old school
Very gritty.
screenplay, very gritty for the time. Very good movie.
The ultimate chase scene.
The ultimate, yeah, it was just one of the first live chase scenes filmed on the streets of San Francisco. That was pretty crazy because
Hmm.
I see that all the time, and he actually drove that chase scene, and but that was him driving for
Mm.
the majority of it. Yeah, so that was because he was a race car driver, the actor, right, on his free
Yeah.
time.
I think he
But
did Le
those are just
Mans.
yes, he filmed Le Mans, right? The action movies are my fare, that sort of thing.
Can't say I blame you on that one. Why
What
not?
about you,
End
brother?
it all.
What about you?
Me. Well, you mentioned my favorite, Godfather. I love Godfather 1 and 2, and my favorite is whichever one is playing at the time because they're both so good.
They're so
And
good. It's hard to put one against the other.
it really is. And I think I'm trying to go back into my memory banks here that The Godfather 1 and its sequel, that's the only time where the original and the sequel has won the Academy Award Picture of the Year. That's never happened before or since, I don't think,
I didn't
anyway.
know that.
So both of those pictures won Picture of the Year. So I should tell you something. Well,
The weird part about those movies, they talk about even Goodfellas or a lot of Casino. They all do the same thing. It's all about honor and
yeah.
loyalty and family, but because that's the mafia, the Cosa Nostra, organized crime, whatever you want to call it. There's a
Mhm.
code, right? And so they're always portrayed that way, having a
Yeah.
code. But if you betray that code, you know, bad things will happen.
So much for family.
Bad things are gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of enjoy buddy movies, if you want to call them that. Like, especially the Ocean's 11
Yes,
movies. The
yes.
original Ocean's 11 with Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, and a couple other guys. And then the remakes, I think it was in the 90s. I think it was in the 90s or in the 2000s with Brad Pitt, Clooney. I love those kind of movies because of the camaraderie that they share. And it was kind of entertaining as well, those movies.
It is. I like the Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12. I liked
Yeah,
Ocean's 13. It was running a little thin. But
yeah,
Ocean's 11 was a wonderful, what do they call them? Ensemble movies.
yeah. Have you ever started up on the Yellowstone series?
No, I have not. I have so many. I said to myself, when I retire, I'm going to catch up on all these shows that I've been meaning to catch
Fair
up
enough.
on forever. And that's coming up sooner than later, depending on if that changes. But yes, that's what I plan on doing that. There's a few there's quite a few I want to catch up on.
Oh, yeah.
I want to rewatch The Sopranos. I want to watch Yellowstone. I want to watch The Wire, rewatch that
Yes.
again, which I thought
Yes.
was
I've never watched not even one episode of that. And I keep hearing from everybody, you gotta watch it.
yeah. Something I'll admit right now to everyone: I never saw Game of Thrones. I
Me either.
I want to watch that, but I'm not. I, you always say, "Oh, there's plenty of time for everything," but
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that have a lot of regrets because they thought they had time and they never
they have
made.
to.
But
Yeah,
that said, it's you got to take it whenever you can get it.
yeah.
But yeah, so Game of Thrones is another show that I just cannot, for some reason I can't get past the first episode. I've tried. I just cannot. It's because basically I'm not really into that whole lore. You know what I mean?
Right,
The
right.
the dragon lore. I'm
Yeah,
not into
yeah.
that so much. So it's difficult to get into that when you're not into it. But I'm going to keep trying
No, I totally
eventually.
understand. Yeah, it's just kind
Yeah.
of, it's like science fiction. Not a lot of. I love science fiction,
Yeah.
but not a lot of people love science fiction. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. And yeah, so there's plenty to watch. So, all right. So now, we started talking not too long, last episode, about red light therapy, right? And I wanted to touch up on that a little bit because I did a little bit of research and I did another therapy before the show, and it does really feel good. And but one of the things I wanted everybody to understand is red light therapy. It is recommended that you only do this 3, maybe 4 times a week for no more than 20 minutes. And I
And what is
guess
red light therapy supposed to do again, Ralph?
Well, red light therapy, from what I keep reading, it does a couple of things. Number one, it rejuvenates the collagen, and so it tightens skin. It's sort of like a pseudo fountain of youth. So those that are exposed to it, of course, you have to also wear the eye goggles kind of a thing. So apparently it tightens the skin, because it encourages collagen growth, and so it tightens the skin. But it also penetrates. It does deep tissue penetration, and it stimulates the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cells. And so it gives people energy. So it really does. I really feel like after a 20 minutes of exposure, I really do feel really energetic. It's just, I'm pretty sure it's not psychological because I felt that way before I found out that it does it. That was one of the side effects. I just basically did that at first because, well, my lady kept bugging me to do it. But every time I finished it, I kind of felt great. I mean, I really did. And then I started doing some research and I found out that that's the reason why, because it tends to stimulate the mitochondria and it releases ATP, which is the energy from cells. And it boosts people's energy. So win-win.
And
Yeah.
is it like the red light therapy? Is it like a booth you step into? Is it like something that's how do
Well,
you receive the therapy?
it can be a booth or it could be a panel. We've got panels. They're and they vary in sizes. It could be 1 foot by 2 feet, or it could be a 4 foot by 6 foot panel. As long as it bathes people. But they also come in a booth, which is where we're getting ready to order here pretty soon. And a booth is a step in, a chamber basically. It's a stand up. The one that I'm getting ready to order is a stand-up. It has multiple functions. The one I ordered is a tanning booth, pretty much like a tanning bed, only you're standing. And then it also allows for blue light and red light therapy. So it gives you the best of all worlds. So if somebody wants to come in, a client, and wants to work on a tan, that's fine. If they just want to work on red light therapy, we can switch to that. But to answer your question, it comes in the form of panels or a chamber. So the more light, the better off you are. Actually, ordering it, we're restructuring the house right now. It's a pretty big house, and we're trying to give my wife some areas that she can work out of without interrupting everything else. We want to have our living area separate from her work areas. And not for nothing, she could also go to a spa where she's got a spot, nearby spa. Very nice spa, by the way. So she does a lot. Most of her clients are over there. But to get back to the point about red light therapy, yeah, 3, no more than 4 times a week is the recommendation, and no more than 20 minutes per session. So
So just so I'm clear, the whole idea behind red light therapy is that you take what is it, like a 20-minute session, 3 days a
mhm,
week, and then you
yeah.
feel it tightens up your collagen. You feel refreshed. It's like a 20-minute fountain of youth injection.
Yeah, you can look at it that way. That's a very good way of putting it. Like anything, you have to just go back, to feel that the energy, I think, only lasts but for so long. But with
Yeah,
me, it lasts the whole day.
good.
And that's not bad for sitting, basically, for 20 minutes or laying down,
Right.
because I can position these panels in any position that I want to. So I can be listening to Audible or watching a show or listening to music, for 20 minutes and just enjoying the light. It's basically like sunbathing for 20 minutes.
Well, the hippies got something right, right? I mean, it's like
Yeah,
they were smoking weed and living by red light for what? Like that whole generation.
we were laughing at them. Guess what?
They figured it out, man.
uh, Cheech and Chong is now in my head. Thanks.
Because it's like they were using red lights forever, red and blue lights, because it
Hmm.
was like it would add to the experience, you know.
Yeah. Now you see blue light. I'm glad you brought up blue light because blue light is also therapeutic, but blue light does not penetrate. It's much more superficial. It's much more regenerative of the skin. So for example, if you get a cut or a burn or something, blue light, a lot of people say is just as effective as red light because it's concentrated on the surface. It
Mm.
doesn't penetrate though, whereas red light penetrates and again it goes down to the cell, whereas blue light apparently does not. So both have their pluses. So
Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
nice.
So that's something, and again, a shameless plug for my lady. She does that, and so the funny thing is, ever since since we brought it up, it was just the other day when we talked about it. We've already gotten a couple of text messages from people like, "Ooh, can I get in?" And I'm like, "Well, call my lady. She's the one that's gonna hook you up, not me." You know what I mean? So
Well, maybe
it's
you could throw a
interesting.
number up there, so somebody could give her a call and then get a discount if they mention our show.
Ooh, I like the way you think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you like
yeah,
that? You like that?
yeah, man. Maybe she'll kick back some. Nah, she's not gonna kick anything back to us.
Dude, that money's going. No, that's
No,
her.
I'm joking.
That's her fun money, man. That's like,
Yeah, yeah, no, and
but
yeah.
but if they mention our show, what, like 10% off?
Why not? Why
Yeah,
not? Sure.
yeah.
I
Mention
like
that
that.
you guys. So yeah, Two Friends Talking show, and hey, I heard about you on Two Friends Talking, and I heard you give 10% off on red light therapy.
Yeah. Why not? I'll bring it up to her. I don't think she's gonna have a problem with that because
Yeah,
the
okay,
more the
good.
better. If
Yeah,
we give her free publicity. So
absolutely.
good thinking. Good thinking.
I know to the four
So
people that are listening to us at this.
two of them are asleep. I can hear you snoring. Oh God. All right. So moving on. Oh yeah, a couple of shows ago, I mentioned that we had personally speaking, a bit of a revolution going on in my church. For anybody that's interested in what's going on, it continues. We just have a priest in our Catholic church that is just, I'm not going to mention his name, but he is just not very good. He is just not very good, man. And
Is he a
he's
young
more,
prince?
relatively speaking, yes, relatively speaking. Like the priest that the outgoing, he retired. I think he has like 70, 72 years old, whatever it was. And this guy is probably about 40. And I guess for a priest that is kind of young, but he is just awful. He's just one of those guys that believes in dividing and conquering. He's arrogant, doesn't know how to say my bad, my fault, I was wrong. Just he's not like that, man. He just doubles down. Okay? So, but he's just bad. And there is, again, the church is in revolt because he tends to treat, there's three groups, there's three cultures that attend Mass. There's the English Mass, Spanish Mass, and Portuguese. He tends to treat the English and the Portuguese really well because I've gone to all three of the Masses. But the Spanish speaking Mass, he is just awful. And I don't know what it is. Nobody knows. He just talks to people in that like they're dogs. I mean, he insults them to their faces. It's just something that you would think you would never see or hear. But there it is, right there in living color, as the old saying goes. Like, for example, for the Spanish Mass, he has adjusted his Mass to where now he brings up the children. He invites the children up to the pulpit, not up on the pulpit, but in front. And he sits down and he talks with them. And it sounds cute, right? But then the reason he tells them in front of the parents. He says, I prefer to talk to you guys because you guys are listening. Your parents don't understand. And I'm like, we can hear you, right? But he just doesn't care. He just says those kinds of things. And, I'm like, I think he's really trying to push the Hispanic community out of that church because there is an exodus out of that church. And then the other half that is not leaving, they're in open revolt right now. We're writing to the press. We're writing to the Archbishop, Cardinal Tobin out of Newark, and the press. I mean, Univision, NBC, even the Vatican, everybody's on the CC when an email goes out. So,
So
yeah.
are you saying that this priest is he prejudiced? Is that what you're like, outrightly prejudiced?
It's hard to see it otherwise. It really is. Now, I'm going to fall short. I'm not going to go out there and say that this is racist. I'm not going to say those kinds of things. But I will say this: if it walks like a duck, if it flies like a duck, right? It's a duck. But that several of us have gone to all of the other masses, and we don't see that side of him in the English or the Portuguese mass. We don't see that. But as soon as he steps into the Spanish masses, he just becomes condescending. He's really insulting. He's very abusive.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't understand how he helps himself there, right? Because if he drives out the parishioners, then you're driving out revenues, right? And the community will not be against you, but they're just not going to trust you.
And what he doesn't seem to understand is that, and I think he had some kind of a false notion that people would just curl up and leave, and a lot of them did. But then the other half buckled down, and they did start noting, and they started to document and started reporting to the cardinal, to the Vatican, to the press. I don't think he counted on that. And we have noticed that he has tried to adjust his attitude some. We still feel the disdain. We feel it. But, he's sort of like stepping back a little bit, on his heels a little bit. And he's going on saying things like, remember, you're not allowed to record the mass here without our, to which somebody said, show me where we can't do that. Show me legally. In New Jersey, you can't have a conversation recorded and then, report on it without their permission. But that does not apply to mass. A mass is considered a public service. So, but he's going on as far as saying, you can't report on what's being said in this church. And he's wrong. And so that gives you an idea of what kind of a person he is, that he is either uninformed or he is informed and he's lying about it. And I don't know which one of those is worse. I mean, I really don't know. So we continue.
But it'll still continue. That's a particular position that really you shouldn't hold people in judgment, right? Like that should be the position
Of all people.
Of all people. Yes, not to hold people in judgment, but
Yeah. Not many people understand why he is the way he is. And not for nothing, this is not the first church that he's been chased out that are pillars of that church, of that community. I don't know if he was a professor, but he taught at one point at Seton Hall University. And as far as student grades for their professors, they can grade up to a 5 being the best. He got an average of 1.8.
Oof. Okay.
1.8.
So he barely got by academically.
Yeah, less than 20% approval rating. And I was reading some of the critiques, some of the write-ups from some students, and two that jumped out at me. One was a nurse, and one was a physics major that decided to take a theology course. Both of them said, in our history of our training, this course is by far the hardest one, not because of the content, but because of him, his inability to approach him, and his disdain towards the general public. So I'm like, when a nurse and a physics major says that that's the hardest course, that's saying enough.
Maybe this man should just get out of public life, right? Maybe
I'm
that's
going to keep
calling for him.
but he but in this particular church, he has fallen into the likings so far of the English and the Portuguese community, whereas in previous churches, everybody was basically complaining about him. But on this one, it's the Spanish-speaking community, which is bigger than everybody else put together. So he still has his issues.
He could be, there's a lot of things that could be going on there, right? There could be a love child that he has in the Spanish community. No, let me stop. That's horrible.
He's half from Nicaragua, but you know what? I'm going to continue to pray for him, but that doesn't mean I want him there. But I am going to continue to pray for him. So
good, yeah, and I guess that's a great point to leave it at. We'll find out what's going on in episode 16 regarding the church. I'm sure everybody's on pins and needles. I am. I kind of want to find out. Now I'm kind of like, I want to know what's going on. It's like
inquiry minds.
Yeah, it's like one of those situations where you're like, okay, and did he have a child with someone else?
And it's like our own cliffhanger.
I don't. What's going on with Father Johnson? By the way, that's not his name. We're not going to mention.
No, I'm not going to mention his name, but
we're not going to.
Everybody locally knows who we're talking about. And now's a good time to go ahead and.
Everyone have I'm looking out the window right now, and it's that nice temperature but rainy outside in New York. Everybody kind of like
it's gloomy.
But
it's a little bit gloomy out here. I'm looking out my window too. I got the natural light here, and we're expecting rain anytime now. So, but for right now,
the clouds are kind of dark.
And you know what? I think that might be part of that Midwest storm that now it's ripping through the South now. I just read before we came online that 34 people have been killed by this storm. But I think it's going to peter out by the time it gets to us. We're going to get rain.
We hope that there's no more loss of life and no more death. It's like, oh my God. On the next episode, I want to talk about, this is what I want to talk about, our beloved president, right? And his speech to the Department of Justice. Oh my Lord.
All right, guys, take care. Thanks for tuning in and hearing us out, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.
Take care, bro.